Wait, why didn't we get Consecrated Mind with Summon the Consecrated Mind with Void subclasses?
I'm Void.
I'm
Void.
Everybody Void?
We were all Void.
I am Void.
What the
I mean,
fuck?
I'm not Void now.
No, Summon. That means someone on the League of Legends thing wasn't
The
on
Tethers, they weren't it.
What? Wait, what are you talking about?
I didn't get the
Void.
Triumph.
The lanes. The lanes.
Maybe you have
thing.
to complete it.
I'm here. No,
did
we
complete it.
completed that.
No,
We
complete the whole raid.
No,
No.
it's per encounter because I got the first one
All
checked
right.
off. It's just
Well,
that someone
that's okay with
wasn't
my
void
microphone
for
up.
the second part.
What's up, guys? Welcome, Podfiends, to the Caffeinds cast. You guys saw it. Perk had a little mishap. Welcome to episode 4 of the Caffeinds cast, guys. I'm your host, WillProduces. With me, as always, is big unlucky PerkFGC, and joining us this week is our friend, our clanmate, Crapery. Guys, how are you doing?
I was doing great until we saw that clip again. But
I'm still doing great, even after seeing that clip.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
I
So,
bet you are.
for those of you guys who don't know what this show is, we are a clan in Destiny 2. This is our podcast where we talk about the happenings, the goings on of not only our clan, but of course Destiny 2 as well. This week, we had a huge news bomb drop on us that we're going to be talking about soon-ish, which is that Destiny 2 Beyond Light was delayed. We'll get to that in a second, but first we want to talk about our guest, Crapery. How are you? And before we do that, actually, we have tradition. We have our caffeinated drinks. Track them if you got them.
Cheers.
Kick him on.
All right, soy sauce.
What if I drank
got
that
it.
right now?
I would
You won't.
honestly be so impressed. But yeah.
No, I have water. Classic
Thanks.
water.
I'm also
Fair.
I'm Red Bull Coconut Edition tonight. So
Would.
what are you grinding this week?
I'm honestly grinding Forges. When they came out, I didn't really play a whole lot, to be honest.
Mhm.
So I kind of lost out on a lot of those opportunities. So working on like Izanagi's, yeah, things like that.
Hell yeah! How about you, Perk?
Completing raid challenges with void subclasses. Grinding that.
Yeah, that's a
Grind.
big rough grind.
Grinding that one out.
Let's
'cause, you know,
let's talk about that. What you guys just saw, the cold open. Perk was on our clan stream on Tuesday. Tuesday?
we kicked it off on Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. And you
That's our
guys
first
did
clan
some
stream.
raids.
We did, because we do a lot of raids at the Caffeinds, and I just was like, we did a garden, we did a we actually
Leviathan.
started it out. We did a Rat King only run of Leviathan. So we kicked it off with that just for some good vibes, and then we went into we're like, all right, let's do a garden, let's get our pinnacles for the week. And then the reason that head in the hand moment happened is because I'm working on the Enlightened title, and for that, you need a certain amount of triumphs for that to take place. And I have a lot of them. I think I'm at like 10 out of 16. And I think one of the things that I asked was, "Hey, everybody, let's use void subclasses to kick this off." Just because I only need the first 2 encounters where everybody has to have a void subclass on. And everybody was pretty much in agreement. Even Grape here. We talked about it. We did it. And then as everybody was getting together for the last checkpoint of the raid, I just wanted to check my triumph because normally they pop up on the bottom of the screen. And they're like, "Hey, you got it." And I was like, "Well, what's the deal with that? Like, why isn't that popping?" I was like, "Let's just go check. Let's see." And I see the first encounter, void completion, not a problem. I see the last 2, which is what I had from a prior raid, not a problem. But there was that middle one. There's that middle one in there. And that's the clip that you saw, was my head in my hands, realizing that as people were dying to just try to get across the last jumping puzzle, it was later in the night. I realized that I didn't get my triumph. So that's why we're grinding that again this week. We're going to try again tonight after the podcast. So
Such is life.
yes, that's where that's from.
Long story short, instructions were not clear.
Yep.
They're clear now, though.
Very clear.
now.
Very clear now. Cool.
plus.
So for me, I actually haven't been able to play much Destiny this week. I've been grinding shows. I'm doing a show called Anbox's Battle of the Burrows, which is a Fortnite tournament, and we're live tomorrow. That's gonna be with Golden Boy. So thank you, Golden Boy, for the
Sick.
follow, the retweet. Love you.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, that has been consuming most of my time. But when I did get to play, I think I make a point of doing the evacuation quest as well as the means to an end quest every single week the second I get on, because I want to see how the story progresses week to week. Eris in the Tree and the Court of Savathun and all of those lovely story missions that we've been getting this season have been incredible. So I'm really excited to see how they push it every week. And also it's just really interesting. We're not going anywhere new in these missions. It's like the same the same 3 week cycle over and over again, kind of similar to the Dreaming City, but it also has new story laid over it. And even when they roll like old voice clips, there's always some weird sort of like Doctor Whovian-esque like timey-wimey stuff that happens. And of course, Savathun is the person who created the curse on the Dreaming City with Riven. So, lore nerds, what's happening?
I was gonna say, I was actually like, this is actually perfect that you mentioned this, because I wanted to ask you guys how you feel about this. This is kind of a thread that we've seen Bungie do a whole bunch in Destiny over time. We've seen them implement it in different ways. So exactly what you're saying with the Dreaming City, we had the curse week. So we started out, there was no curse. We came back to next week, there were more blights and stuff like around the map and all this other stuff. We found like little doors rotating, different areas accessible, and then obviously the third curse week, which is being the ultimate one, tied into an entire like title and everything like that. Um, so being that we've seen that done in Forsaken, which is like a landmark campaign that they put out, once a year in the fall. Um, well, we've also seen other things like I know we always rag on last season with the Warmind vaults, where it was like, hey, clear the Warmind vaults, you know, do your thing, dust it up, and have a reward. But how do you guys feel about the change going from and seeing just the different times that they've explored doing that thing? Because ultimately, this came from something in D1 where we would run heroic story missions each day or week. I forget what the frequency was. But they were stories of the base game. Now, as we go on, we have more seasons, more expansions, and more stuff. I loved the new dialogue that we had with Eris talking about that stuff that you just mentioned, Will.
Mhm.
What do you guys think? How would you like to see that done? Do you like the way that it's been done? Do you like kind of where they're going with it? Do you think it's for the better? Do you think more could be done? What do you guys think? Start with Crapery. Start with Crape. Give me your thoughts.
I obviously I love lore, but I get into like these weird niche lore things. But I wish that they, I guess, created something to where you could go back to that information. It's like you watch the dialogue or you listen to the dialogue, but there's no like grimoires. I'm huge in like grimoires for those things, so I want to be able to go back and like pick apart that dialogue and see if I can like map out any direction that they might go with the storyline. But for the most part, I enjoy what they're doing with the story missions or with the seasonal missions.
Yeah,
That's
I'd
a
have
really-
to agree.
I was gonna say I 100% agree. I do wish that they would do something where we can actually go back to it at any point and just experience that again, like that content. Because I'll be honest, sometimes when we're doing it like together, we're chatting. It's the first time we've spoken to each other that day, or maybe in a few days, depending on who's in the fire team. But and sometimes the story is skippable, or you see the dialogue running across the bottom. But I would love, I completely agree with you. I would love to see some sort of database that we can do that.
Hell yeah.
How about you, Will? What are your thoughts?
I just sort of piggybacking off that. What I was going to say is kind of, I don't feel as strongly about what I feel strongly about right now is, in addition to that, having a way to sort of replay cutscenes from the season, or replay cutscenes at all, is something that we don't really have in Destiny. You kind of have to go onto YouTube or replay a whole mission. When we like, there should be some sort of like, I don't know. I referenced the Tangled Shore Fallen like club playing music last week, but I would love to see like a Fallen movie theater where I can just
That'd be
sit
great.
back and eat popcorn and watch this, blow up Gaul like over and over again or something. Um, that's one step to like towards the Grimoire in game type lore things. Just so I can like compare and retap into different lore nodes if I wanted to like do some research and such. Um, but in terms of like what I would like to see the story missions become, I like the current format a lot. I think that what's weird for me about them right now is that the sameness of it, I don't know what like I don't know what's supposed to be same for the sake of creating that like Groundhog's Day sort of feel of like I'm doing this thing against an enemy that uses this as a technique versus what is lazy and or not lazy, but what's like done for the sake of saving time. I think is a better way of putting that.
Definitely.
So
Or I think it's also it might be like a misstep of them trying to slowly build up to something.
right.
And they're not giving us enough to like keep us on the edge of our seat.
Correct. Yeah. So that's what I feel about it. I do want to take some time to give a quick shout out to some of our clan members, including you, Perk, who have been grinding the raids because we have some new proud owners of raid weapons this week.
We really do.
Last week, I don't know if we mentioned this or not. Or no, we were talking about how Gino did not get Anarchy, but we did get Gino Anarchy between this week and last week. Maybe time has sort of stretched and contracted, so I don't really feel it correctly because I definitely was there for that. But
That's
Queen
fair.
and Gino got their Anarchies. Perk in on a day where I was not available, and I thought I had this feeling. I was like, something's going horribly wrong today.
I'm free.
Perk was freed from his curse. How does it feel to be no longer burdened with the curse?
You know what? Honestly, it feels kind of weird. I almost feel like that's like my ebb and flow of like that's what keeps me like fighting back. Is I'm like, "Oh, I gotta go get the gun. But it's also hilarious that I don't think unless Bungie changed the RNG mechanics that I would have ever gotten them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there was something with my profile that was just locked in time that I would have just never gotten them like at all. So thanks Bungie for that. Because after I think it was about 10 runs, I got Anarchy to drop. That was a couple weeks ago. We were talking with Sean about that. Last weekend, even before all this, when we were doing our clan runs for the crown, the crown runs, even without it, like our first run, I dropped Teraba, which was awesome. So I'm like, great, that's 2 out of 3. And then I was like, you know what? Last Wish is arguably Anarchy was the one that I wanted the most out of that whole thing, and I never got that one to drop. But being that was the first one, that was special to me. But my thing with Garden or with Last Wish, I'm so sorry, with Last Wish is that I have opened the chests at Riven over 50 times. Like I kept count at a certain point. I was like, I have to know. So it's over 50. I don't even know the exact number.
Right.
But after getting Anarchy, then a couple days later getting Teraba, I was almost hesitant to even run that raid, but we did one run, or we did 3 runs to get our glittering keys.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of us still kind of like rusty on it. We run Last Wish. We do the Queen's Walk. Dan, literally, I was so stressed walking into that room to go and even open those keys. Dan immediately went in. And he's like, he threw a grenade on it. And he's like, I bless this one. And everybody was like, all right, let Perk open. He's like, I bless this one. So I was like, let's do it. I opened it right there, 1,000 voices. I let out like a yell, and I felt like tension just leave my spirit. So yeah, that was a moment. That was a moment for me for sure.
You know what? Were you streaming? Did you clip it?
I clipped it. I wasn't streaming, but I clipped it.
Dude, I wish
Saturday.
I wish I had it. I wish
We'll do it next time. I totally forgot.
We'll make up for the embarrassment at the front of the show for next week's show.
I got your curse, by the way. Just so you know.
Do you?
Yeah.
What are you missing?
I don't know. Teraba.
Teraba. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
we
it?
got more
I've done-
crown runs.
I've
to
done
do.
no.
I've done Crown so many times.
So I think what happens is that this is like the ring tape of curses. Like this is the It Follows
Yeah.
of Destiny.
Yeah.
Because you may be missing Teraba, but I'm also missing Teraba. I have run Garden more than almost any other raid in not Garden. I've run Crown more than any raid except for Garden, and yeah, never touched it. I also don't have 1,000 voices. I am like actually,
Whoa.
I think I have a
I thought you had 1,000 voices.
I do not have 1,000 voices. I have like a real phobia that I will never get a raid exotic ever again.
Well, I mean, like we've got a lot of clanmates left that still haven't done it. I know our
Mhm.
core group kind of made it through.
You know
but
what's
we've
the
got
worst
a lot
part?
of crown runs left.
The most
Yeah.
humiliating part about this is that my good friend Patrick Orange, a man I brought into this clan, taught him how to raid, brought him up from nothing, got 1,000 voices ages ago, never uses it, and insists on using Xenophage in every raid
Xenophage.
every raid
Oh.
encounter.
Oh,
It hurts my soul. I'm offended.
so I'm
it's-
looking at. I want to go to the videotape on that. I'm looking at raid report for you. You
Yeah.
actually only run crown 8 times.
That's not true. That is 100% false.
Raid report is definitely off because it thinks that I only have 30 completions in Scourge, which I have way more completions in Scourge.
Yeah.
So I know it's a little bit off, but I'm just saying.
I've only done it.
I was gonna say it shows our week 1 completion that we have in there. It's kinda cool.
That's suspect. Does it show? All right. Well,
Should be,
I didn't expect to be exposed like this.
you're exposed. Yeah, I had to do it. I had to do
Yeah.
Raid
it. Raid gate.
Yeah. So, before we move on to our main discussion of the podcast, we got to pay the bills as usual here. This week's sponsor is Olive Garden of Salvation. After the collapse, only one thing was certain. The last surviving humans needed safety and the bare essentials. Shelter, water, and of course, fine Italian food. Now that the tower is rebuilt and the Guardians have raided the Black Garden, we've taken care of the rest. Come on down to Olive Garden of Salvation and try our post-apocalyptic pastas. And of course, get your hands on the unlimited Vex milk. Olive Garden of Salvation. Don't be taken for a fool. When you're here, you're family. All right. Moving on to the big discussion of the week. Big discuss, make big. It is that Beyond Light has been delayed to November 10th. That's
Yeah.
7 weeks from its original release date. Guys, just how do you feel about that?
I'm gonna let Crepe go first. Thoughts on it?
I'm the type of person that I would rather a developer spend or take more time on a product and push something out like that matches their vision than something that's, you know, not very good and we're complaining about everything.
And you, Perk?
So yes, I agree with Crepe on that too. Like, yeah, I mean, obviously we have the whole coronavirus thing going on. We've seen a lot of games and studios and stuff push things off. My only thing with it is that when you do something like that, when you push content expansion, either a game release, I think actually it's more pivotal for content than it is almost for a game.
Mhm.
When you do that, especially in a game like Destiny, a game that's got a lot of MMO qualities to it, it does a couple of things. For us, I mean, of course, I want everybody to have a good working condition. That goes without saying. If you don't know me, 100%, I think you're going to be hard pressed to even find a rational person who's going to be like, no, I want them to put it out no matter what. I paid for that content. Gosh dang it, it better come out. Like, no, like obviously we're adults. We're understanding that, like, yeah, no, we want other people to have great working conditions. My concerns, so like that's that thing. My concern comes from like two factors. We have a very like precise season structure in Destiny. When a season comes out, or when a fall expansion comes out, it comes alongside another season. That rolls and plays out. There's quests and different things that go alongside it. So you've got that, and you're like, okay, they're gonna have to kind of move some things around. They've even mentioned in the TWAB, they were saying that the Festival of the Lost is going to get pushed forward, or not pushed forward, but it's going to go on during the second week in October. So we're not going to lose anything like that thematically for Halloween and all the other stuff. But it puts a little bit of pressure on, I guess, the community managers, honestly, to help guide, hey, like this season might be short or this season might be long, like in the situation that we have coming up here, where we're going to have, you know, moments of triumph and solstice of heroes. Actually, I think if you're going to push something off, this is the time to do it, because the last few seasons of Destiny, there's been, myself included and a lot of other folks who were like, I'm not playing the Warmind expansion or season, or I'm not doing this or that. So now we've got more time to catch up all of the stuff that we missed for the first part of this year. We've got more time to do the moments of triumph, which is pretty big and expansive this year. A lot of raids and stuff. We can chase perfect rolls on gear. And then we've also got the solstice event coming up in a few weeks that we're going to get into. But so that on that aspect, that's fine. And I'm cool with that. And I actually think that might be a benefit. Save for like them having to reposition the later season that comes with Beyond Light. The negative side of it is that it's going to put a lot more pressure on how good that expansion is. When that raid comes out, there's going to be a lot more of like, oh, how good is this? Like, you know, there's going to be people who are going, oh, well, they spent all this extra time and this happened. You know that the slightest bug that's going to come up, people are going to be like, could you believe this? Could you believe this? Like, it took them this extra time. So it's obviously it's something that they didn't do lightly. I just hope that there's, and I believe in them, because everything that we've seen from Bungie over the past couple months has been fantastic. So I believe in them. I just, for their own sake, I hope that they're comfortable when they launch the game, that everything is the way that they want it to be, because I think there's that extra like pressure coming out with it. So yeah, that's the way that I look at it.
Yeah, I'm of a similar mind. I think, you know, whenever anyone releases a delay, it's weird to see the community be like, no, don't delay it. Like, were they going to release a unfinished product? That's not really how it works, you know? It's just like, it's unfortunate, but like, what are you going to do? It's not ready. And it does put a lot of extra pressure on the final product of the game that is going to come out. But I think, like you said, this is actually the best time to do it. There's already a bunch of stuff on the calendar. I'm interested in seeing how they're going. So if they had like a week or 2 or even 3 weeks worth of content that is going to be the Halloween Season of the Lost type stuff was going to be part of Beyond Light, I'm interested in seeing how that transitions over to pre-release of that and what that hole gets filled with in the next season. But also, what we gotta keep in mind is that like we're inherently going to have a lot of content off the rip, because with every Destiny 2 expansion, when you get that expansion, you're getting that expansion's content and a season's worth of content on top of that. So there's just more stuff for us to sift through. It's like, it sucks, but this is the best time for us to do it. And I saw this Gigs tweet that I keep thinking about, where it's like people who are complaining about 7 weeks of playing through like the content calendar, which there is new stuff to do now. We'll get to it in a second. Did not experience the content drought that was year 2 of Destiny 1.
No.
Because holy shit, that was a rough time for the game.
At all. Yeah, exactly. I know it's that like you didn't experience this that it shows. I mean, it's a great meme, but I think like one of the big things too is that I think most of the tweets that I saw in response to it, because I mean, human reaction, you're like, all right, let's go see if there's a dumpster fire. Like, let me go see if someone's mad. Pretty much everything that I saw was like, everybody was like, good, yeah, like don't overwork yourself, like don't go nuts just to give us, you know, another thing to do it. That was my only thing was like, I just hope that when they do put it out there, the time frame that they have set is going to be enough for them to get in what they want to get in and test everything they want to. But yeah, when you look back at House of Wolves almost looks like, I mean, everything that you look at, and we've heard a lot of different stuff about the way that those expansions and stuff were structured, that it almost may have been everything in one, including the Taken King, would have been like vanilla Destiny. And it may have been chopped up for various reasons. But yeah, you go back and you look at that, and that is like, I mean, that's why Trials is so well beloved, is because Trials was the thing that kept Destiny hanging on in those severe famine drought weeks. leading up to Taken King. It was just something to replay and to do.
Well, I feel like in earlier
all the time.
expansions, like to my knowledge, they didn't drip feed anything. Like it was just a huge content dump, and you could do everything, you know, as fast as you or
Yeah.
as slow as you wanted to, other than like raids, which you know came a little bit later after an expansion
Yeah.
drop. But
Yeah,
I'm curious,
exactly.
like what exact expansion they started doing this like drip feed content release.
like
I wanna say it was last-
Forsaken.
I think it was
Forsaken,
yeah.
Yeah, because
So I'm curious if they're going to change the model up any for this new one.
I don't think they are. I think so. Like they've been refining the season pass thing, and this like the reason why we have the season passes as they are is because of how negatively and the seasons of the Drifter and seasons like and the Black Armory seasons were received in the season pass during the Forsaken year. You know, we got Opulence at the end, which was great, but that's like a final season, and then we got Undying, which was trash tier comparatively. You know.
Yeah, Undying slipped under the radar because Undying was also
The Shadow
was
Keep.
part of Shadowkeep, and it always got that kind of, pun intended, overshadowed by it. So those little things that were included in it, we didn't really get that first sense of a season. It was the season after, which I believe was the one with Saint 14. That was
Dawn.
Was that, am I remembering correctly?
So after Undying was the Sundial.
Sundial.
And then
That's right.
after
That's right.
that was Worthy.
Right. But Sundial featured Saint 14. That's when we found
Yeah, that's
him
when
and the
we-
whole Bastion quest and the whole
Right.
like big puzzle and stuff like that. So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the thing with the drip content, we were talking about this a little bit a while ago. It's interesting to me the way that they do that, because one of my favorite I think my favorite expansion or part of Destiny 2 has been Forsaken, and I think I loved it because it just like Crape was saying, like it just dropped so much stuff on you, very much in the same way that D1 did, and you got to go through it at whatever pace that you wanted to do. If you didn't want to get your triumphs done and hunt for titles and things right away, you didn't have to. It was going to be there. Like it was on its cycle and different things like that. The cycles is something that I'll get into in a little bit, but it was just there. And I think Luke Smith actually did address this in June when they had their most recent announcement. He even said, he was like, that didn't really hit the mark. Like people don't like FOMO in Destiny. I hate it. Even in other games that I play, I don't like having that thing where it's like, you need to log in right now. Like you need to come and do this, and before it's gone. Like that almost even puts me off on playing those games, because I'm like, I would have wanted that thing, but now I can't go and get that thing because it was only a limited time. And then if you have players who went and got that thing that are now like, well, I got this thing, and like they better not bring this back, because I'm going to be mad if I did, because I spent, I took a couple of weekends off from what I wanted to do, that to go and do this. And then if they're going to give it out to everybody else, you just have like a mess. And I think Bungie knows that. And especially I get at least the sense of that from what Luke Smith was saying, that they don't want to do that whole FOMO thing anymore. If you want to do the FOMO thing for like the Halloween event, the Christmas, the holiday event, that's fine, because that's usually just little stuff. It's cosmetics. It's never really been anything like that effective in the game.
Horror Story was good for a while.
So
yeah.
So it's weird you say that, because like I'm thinking of newer players that are gonna maybe come into the game, in the next month or two.
Yeah.
Like they're vaulting all of those planets and all of that content. So to those new players, that's going to be a huge like FOMO moment.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not going to know what to do, because they don't know what's the good content, what's not, what weapons they need to get. I don't know.
That's
Yeah,
why you join a clan. Like
I was going to say,
Caffeinds.
my buddy just joined us like a couple days ago. Big Tony. Shout out to Big Tony.
Big Tony with 9 1s.
With 9 1s. We were taking him through stuff, and we honestly, we gave him the most like hard and rough landing into the clan I think that anyone has ever had. He was like, all right, I downloaded Destiny, and I was like, yo, and he's like, all right, I picked my character, I did this. He's like, where do I go? And it was right before I did a raid with you guys, and I was like, hey, join me in the tower. I'm going to take you over to Amanda Holiday, pick up these quests. The game's not going to tell you to do this, but like, grab these, do this. I'll see you later. And I laughed, but he did them, and he played through, and he was just like, he was like, "Why is this like this?" And I was like, "Listen, they know that new player experience, that free to play experience, is like
Is
super
butts.
silly." I see him in chat right there. We were talking about it. I was like, the new player experience is honestly crap. Like it doesn't guide you in the way. And he even mentioned this too from other MMOs. Usually, when you start a game like this, you're like, "Hey, here's the starting area.
Yep.
Do a bunch of this crap, and when you're done, then we'll make it really clear that you're done, and then you can move on and you can do different things." Um, and what excites me about this is because I know that they're working on the new player experience because they have to, because the new light experience is not good, and they know that. But what Luke Smith did mention is that I think it was in the conversation with Dr. Lupo. He mentioned like, are we gonna ever be able to auto dismantle blues, or like how is that whole thing?
I've been
And
wanting that forever.
we've been wanting that forever, like since D1, where you get to a point where, and he's even at the point, he's only been playing for a few days, where he's like, okay, I have like a bunch of legendaries. These are usually things that would take you a long time to get in Destiny, in an MMO. Destiny, you kind of get them pretty straight off the rip. Like the vendors all sell them. And that's just been something that we kind of just got used to from D1, where we could just see the legendaries. We see the stuff that's there, and we're like, all right, they're going to roll randomly, so that like you're going to need to do certain things. There's certain legendaries that are not shown that you're going to want to go and get and stuff like that. We've been yanking him through the quest for his outbreak and his whisper. But my thought is that Luke Smith specifically mentioned the intent to make blues more useful. So I think with that, we're going to see a better experience. And Big Tony's a perfect experience with that. What you were saying is, yeah, the new light experience is a mess. You're going to have these planets that are getting removed. None of that makes sense. And honestly, I think it's good. It's going to only it'll only serve to be better for the new light experience, because they get a chance to kind of start that fresh. And they don't have to be like, all right, well, we want you to play the Red War campaign, and you should play through the Curse of Osiris and like the Warmind. But like none of the quests go in any particular order. There's barely a cohesive story outside of Red War. There's kind of not really a story that's being told.
Forsaken.
Warmind, first, well, I just meant year one. I
Okay.
didn't preface that. I meant year one. When you get to Warmind, the game itself got better. That's when a lot of our first things where we're like, yo, is this going to be the way that Destiny 2 is going to play out? Because I missed the way the Destiny 1 was. When you got to Warmind, we at least had a lot of those issues kind of solved. And we're like, all right, good. They're working on stuff. They're doing this. This is big. I think that's when masterworking was added to the game and stuff like that. But when you go and you play through that story, there's almost nothing there. I would argue that Warmind was sold, I think it was it $40 for the two expansions between Curse of Osiris and Warmind?
Yeah.
So I
Something like that.
believe that was the thing. So they're roughly like $20 expansions, which is different than a $10 season pass. I'd argue that the $10 season pass for Season of Arrivals tells a better story than the Warmind or the Curse of Osiris stories have done.
Well, it's also was like the culmination of a very like not great business practice of having an calling it an expansion when you know that D1's expansions contained raids, contain like full raids, not just layers, and contain so much more content than what you're going to put out. And this is like this is back when Bungie was like basically handing those expansions over to Vicarious Visions and I think High Moon Studios, and they basically were responsible for most of the content in there. And somewhere along the line, they're like, yeah, the story missions, those are actually strikes.
Yeah,
like we didn't like everyone felt gypped by content because you finish the campaign, you're like, okay, I guess I'm gonna do some strikes now. Oh shit, I did this already. Like. It was infuriating.
That was one of the biggest like things for me, is playing through the Curse of Osiris. Now, I love Osiris as like a character and like lore and everything like that. Actually, show my little Osiris figure right here. There is like, he's awesome, and he was this mythical creature in Destiny lore. We get to his story, and he's like, "Yo, listen, I checked all the corridors of time, and like, I need you to help me kill this Vex dude." And we're like, this Vex dude must be insane, because we fought Atheon times Conflux. Like the Vault of Glass was just so monumental and epic. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, yo, this raid is going to be crazy. It's going to be Vexy. It's involving Osiris. we're gonna jump through the raid and help like different versions of Osiris when they were showing him like run through the corridors, and he has like that multiplication like Doctor Strange thing that he was doing.
He's gonna stop time.
I was like, this is gonna be insane. Like, it's gonna be nuts. Like, I'm so amped for this. I loved Sadira, I think is his ghost, and she like took over as our ghost for a bit. I was like, this started out so great, and then it was just like, bleh. And they're like, by the way, this thing that we had you run, this is also your heroic story, your heroic like quest missions and the strike. And I was like, what? Like, it was such a weird fragmented thing that's my argument, is that I'm like, I like the seasons that we have that we paid $10 for, or part of our year pass, annual pass, if you will. That was more fun than something that I paid more for.
So, Season of the Drifter, that's when we got Gambit. Or was it when we got Gambit Prime?
No. So Gambit launched with Forsaken.
Okay.
Gambit Prime came out with Season of the Drifter.
Yeah. So, like, a lot of people did not like Season of the Drifter because it was the Gambit themed season.
Yeah.
Arguably a much more interesting storyline there for sure. You got a new brand, like a new take on a game mode that I think is better. I know some people like straight up regular Gambit, that's fine. But you had like a very interesting story that was there if you were actually going to like invest in like the side of the tower versus the Drifter. Right. And then it got paid off with a bunch of great loot and a really interesting loot system in that, like, Reckoning also came out there too, right?
Yeah.
So Reckoning still is super interesting. It's repetitive, but the set bonuses on the loot, I think, was an incredible experiment that needs to be dived into more. And
Absolutely.
Like, there's more value there, is my point, than there was on either Curse of Osiris or Warmind. What's your take on that?
I actually want to wind back a little, back to the stories becoming strikes. I might be in the minority, but I kind of would prefer like strikes to be the story. Like maybe give me like three strikes within a season, and that's the story that they tell. I don't know. I just feel like strikes are good content, but I don't think they're used in the right way.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Would you want to see strikes become longer in that case?
Maybe slightly. Maybe like not as long as a dungeon, but a little bit more than they are now.
Okay.
I definitely have like mechanics in them, like a dungeon.
I was gonna say too, I like strikes are in this weird position, right? Since dungeons came out, and we even, like, going back to Destiny or the raid report, it even tracks the like if you go to the dungeon sections, it'll track your runs of 0 Hour and the Whisper. So those clearly became the dungeons where they have like a challenge to them. So in the case of Whisper and 0 Hour, there's very difficult, lengthy jumping puzzles, and there's a timer attached to them. And when you get to the fight, like, the fight is condensed, but it's hard. And like the fight is at the end. So it's like after you've done all this platforming and stuff like that, which Destiny is known for, it just becomes like this insane, like, oh shit, like, we need to smash these enemies now. I remember, and I'll dig this up for next week, Will. Our first run through Whisper, we got the boss killed at 0 seconds. It showed complete for us, and it showed we actually got the gun. Like, we got the Whisper at 0 seconds, but we had to go and run it because even though the activity rewarded us with the gun, it didn't count in the game. So for us to go and do the heroic version, we had to do the normal version first.
That's crazy.
Go in and go do that. It was insane.
It's crazy.
I remember that though. Big Tony says the fans in 0 Hour. I know the fans were insane. Moose was there for that. That was nuts. But it's a great moment because it was just like, I think we tried it the first time and we wiped on it just doing the puzzle. We were just kind of getting our bearings, and then our second time or third time, it was the day one when it came out. Well, I have Gino popping off, like, saved on a clip, and like the screen goes black, it kicks us to orbit, but then like the gun drops, we're like, yo, like, we got it. So though, like, my thing with that is, and this is very much like a me thing, you guys know that I don't like any of the strikes that have been in Destiny 2. I loved the
Yep.
strikes in D1.
Mhm.
They felt dungeony to me. They had encounters and then like a travel bit where you kind of get your bearings, switch your guns, and you go back into it. Categorically, I have not enjoyed like almost any of the strikes in D2. You'll hear me go, "Oh, yeah, the strike is all right. Like this one's not too bad. This is kind of cool." Like that's the most nice things that I can say about the strikes in D2. They don't have any of the charm or any of the mysteriousness of the strikes and stuff in D1. But for me, I love the dungeons. I mean, like I've done Whisper with like 30 something people. Like I just love taking people through that. And even now I'm kind of getting really confident in running 0 hour because I've just, we've had some newer clanmates coming and going, all right, shit, like let's get them outbreak and stuff.
Mhm.
On top of just the dungeons, on top of doing prophecy, we did a Shattered Throne just before the podcast because I was still finally got my my bounty to drop for the Izanagi's quest, so we were doing that and stuff. Like I love doing dungeons, and they feel deliberate. They feel like a challenge, and they feel like there's a like a rehearsable like thing in them to do. Um, but for strikes, it feels like it's just like what Crape was saying. Like it feels like the dungeons almost became what the strikes should have been,
Mhm.
and they even help tell more of a narrative piece of our story. Like when we run
Right.
prophecy, same thing we were talking about with the story missions. You're getting different dialogue like each time that you run through that. There's like several, I think there's like 6 or 7 different dialogue options that you get from doing that. And they all pop like a lore piece for you and stuff. Like those feel like narrative storytelling things, and it kind of what he was saying is that yeah, like that would make more sense if the story was like that, if it was the strike. But I think in doing so, your story's got to be something more bite size and something that we can just knock out, very much like how we have the missions in Season of Arrivals. I'm starting to really like that cadence for doing those activities. Leave strikes be something that's almost so simple that like you just run through and you kind of just mindlessly do it. I would honestly even be excited if strikes were a lot of other MMOs do things like this, um, where they were like procedurally generated. So
Mhm.
maybe have almost like the Infinite Forest, like
What it was supposed to be.
it could
Yeah.
have been. Is just maybe having it run through a different part, even if we get to the same boss, or maybe have 2 different boss options or something like that, right? It would add just so much flavor to strikes if there was just something a little more to them. I think it's smart to still keep them simple enough to maybe not have mechanics. I think the dungeons do that mechanical thing better because they're
Right.
deliberate. You have to load in with the fire team, and anything mechanic heavy, Bungie has pretty much said like, hey, like we need to kind of do this. You need to get a fire team together to do this. We don't want to match you because we're gonna assume like at worst like 3 blueberries doing this. They're gonna be like, what the hell are we doing here?
I think
So
you can have like tiers of mechanics. Obviously, raid,
Right.
being the top end.
So yeah, you could, but I think that's also where Nightfalls and Grandmaster Nightfalls and stuff kind of fit that piece, is where it's still a strike, it's still a thing that you're familiar with, a thing that you know, but it's also like very, very, very like
Yeah.
mechanical.
I think that it's actually closest to what Prison of Elders kind of would have been with randomization on the encounters.
Or kind of menagerie as well.
I love
Yeah.
Menagerie. I love that the way that they handled loot in Menagerie as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
That you can farm it, much like the Umbrals. I actually love the Umbrals and the whole thing.
I'm getting a ton.
Yeah,
more,
I
more
just
than
love
I
the
Drop
kind of
like
want,
crazy. Yeah.
which is weird.
yeah. Yeah,
I have a feeling they're
only
just gonna
for
like
one
get
card.
rid of legendary shards at this point because that's what
Man,
they all are to me.
I have over 8,000. They
Yeah.
better give me something to spend them on. I've been hoarding them this whole time.
Speaking of things to spend it on, let's move on to before we move on to what I was about to say, let's talk about what else is happening. So the delay does not delay anything in this current season. It just extends it and
Right.
moves Festival of the Lost to October 6th. Moments of triumph. For those of you chasing the raid ring and the shirt and all the fun stuff there, that's going to be extended all the way through to November 10th as well. They're going to drop more of those weekly modifiers like increased valor and increased infamy, but they said something that caught my eye, which was increase redacted.
Yeah.
This to me
About that.
triggers that part of my brain that's like, I've seen this before. And what like in thinking about that, I was like, this feels like the Fractaline invest like stonks thing that we did at the end of Season of the Dawn, where we were just like grinding the fourth fucking like money currency and
Yeah.
then just like holding on to it. And in order to like invest what we were doing, you were dropping like glimmer and legendary shards and that exotic thing, and then dumping all of your fractionally in on week 3. So my prediction for this is that is what's going to happen. We're going to get another currency. We're all going to have to grind, and it'll be like communing with the darkness or something.
Do you think the game has a material and like currency economy issue?
I mean,
Oh, for sure. For
You've
sure.
said this a billion times, Perk, but
I
my
know.
eyes are beginning to open.
I know. I've been saying it for a long time. I think it's and this kind of ties into what we were talking about last week with Lucas a little bit too. Is like the leveling system doesn't make as much sense as it could if it was just simplified to an EXP bar. And I think like I'm trying to imagine about a thing. I'm looking at it, especially going back to my friend Big Tony. I'm looking at it. I'm trying to see the game through his lens, because I've been playing this game since the alpha. So like, there's just some silly stuff that I'm just like, right, of course, this, right, absolutely, of course, it's a new currency. Like I'm just like, right, yeah, Fractaline, what's that called? This thing we have two. We literally have 2 currencies this season, like already, and it's not even over yet. Like we have 2 currencies. We have the thing that levels up your trash can, and then or not the trash can, but the focuser, and then you've got the thing that you spend in the focuser to get the focused engrams.
Mhm.
Like I'm also, it's ringing clear to me, like I've been doing a lot of forges and stuff to work on my Izanagi's. I can't even delete, like I have stacks of modules reports sitting in my postmaster, like because that needs a stack for whatever reason.
Just hold F in chat.
Yeah, hold F in my heart to delete it. But then also the hoarder in me is going, well, you still have to do Jotun, so you're gonna have to do like 10 legendaries, so you should hang on to them at least now, but then you do this, you do
No,
that.
those don't work.
Like,
I tried.
what does it? Okay, fine. But the thing for that too is that I'm gonna say something that is not, people are not a fan of, for sure. The way that bounties were handled in vanilla D1 was better than the way that they're handled here. I know a lot of people were like, bring bounties back. I don't know if you guys remember that part. I was not asking for bounties to come back. I was asking for meaningful quests to come back. But people, something about going to the tower and picking up bounties like clicked for people. But it didn't for me. Bounties were in the game in a much more clean manner. Every day there would be a checklist that if you hit tab and brought out your ghost, you would see in a planet, but you'd only see it on the planet. Like, hey, you're on Io, kill this stuff, pick these up, do this. And you just get reports. And then Ikora, at the end of a week, if you did enough of the like weekly or daily challenges, she would just give you a powerful like piece of gear. It was the set that was in all of the promotional material for D2, like the Titan with the red and white armor set, the Warlock with the gold and the gray, and the Hunter with the blue and white. It was that armor set. It was an exclusive way that you would get it. I didn't think that the bounties should come back the way that they were. I think they were fine. They needed to be expanded on and made a little bit more interesting, a little bit more varied to get us going into the amazing worlds that Bungie built. But I don't think the bounty system, the way that it functions, is good. And I think that bounty system ties into the clumsy currency system. And I think they kind of just need to just nuke the whole thing and kind of go from scratch on it.
Would you say
like
they
my
need to
hobby
nuke it
about it.
from orbit, which is where you should get your bounties?
I mean, as long as there's a way, like, as long as there's a way to just clean up the material system, I don't ever want to manage materials. I was looking in I like tabbed out and I like went to get a drink and came back, and I came back and I was just at my screen that showed my materials.
Mhm.
And I was just like looking at it, like it was full. and I have about 2,000 of each planetary material. I have, but like with all of those, I have like 10,000 weapon parts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have all of that physically, and I can move that stuff in and out of my vaults. But my legendary shards, the game manages for me. When I need them, they're there. It just simply tells me what I need of it. And they're like, hey, you have this material and it's there. Like, you're good. It's done. Like, nothing to worry about, nothing to manage, nothing to accidentally delete a large stack of. It's just there.
Well, you shouldn't have to rebalance your materials either. Like, I shouldn't have to go to like Spider and sell things off or buy things. It definitely needs to be more simplified.
I think it's good. I think the Spider was, I think they knew that they had a material issue.
Mm-hmm.
Honest to God, like, I think they knew that. And I think that they were like, okay, there's probably no quick way for them to pivot, because D1, year one, and like into year two was so much different than the game is now. I just think, like, as far as the game engine goes, they didn't have a way to completely rework it. And they probably didn't want to spend enough time reworking it for then it to maybe then still suck. I think it's probably something that's been kind of cooking for a long period of time. And Spider was probably the easiest answer, that they can just be like, hey, we'll just put a rotating vendor in that's available every day. He resets at 1 o'clock. Like, just go in and, you know, grab whatever you want from him. Like,
Yeah, I'm not saying that he was bad at all. Just that
yeah, no, I agree with you.
have to have him.
I think,
And I think it's a snowballing effect too.
Yeah.
Like with the materials and currencies, like the more currencies we get, the more our inventory is going to be full, and we're going to have to decide what to delete in there. And then, you know, it could snowball more into the vault. You want to pick certain weapons that you can upgrade with certain materials, and big issue.
I think if you remember back to when the Spider first came around in Forsaken, to like the way I initially took it was that like he was there to replace going back to these like old destinations, because if you didn't have time to like go farm EDZ because you're like balls deep in Forsaken, then you could still like manage to get the planetary materials that you needed for like Infusion. I think still needed planetary materials back then. Was that? No.
Infusion did need planetary materials back then. The way that it works now is, I believe, if you're buying the Infusion thing from the gunsmith,
Yeah.
every day there's like 2 different stacks that require like one of each type of material. So like
Mhm.
whichever one you have, you can cash in on that. So they didn't remove the need for Infusion materials. They just had it where they could just go, okay, you know, oh, it's the one that you have a ton of, just buy a bunch of those things. This way you can just, whenever you want to, you can throw those in and do that. My whole thing is like, as a digital hoarder, let me have unlimited of a thing, or let it go up to 1,000 of something. But
Right.
like, you have legendary shards and bright dust and stuff, which can go into the thousands with no problem. Like, it's just in a different part of the game. I actually don't mind a ton of materials and crap if I don't have to deal with them. I could just be like, oh, cool. All right, have enough. All right, cool. Hit the button. Let's do it. Like, that's fine. I don't like the whole like having to go trade and like trade this for this and this for this. Like, perfect examples too is like, since we've been kind of getting more and more into it, and I know Gino and Moose and myself were gearing up to do farming those Grandmaster Ninefalls, which is something that I wanted to cover because they talked about it in the swap. Like, with wanting to min-max more gear sets and stuff like that, the price cost for an Ascendant Shard is completely like obfuscated by like the entire system. Like, technically it costs, I think, 100 enhancement cores to get an Ascendant Shard, but like it only tells you that it needs like 10 of the etheric
Prisms.
like prisms or something like that. But I'm like, to get one of those requires 10 enhancement cores, which is the most realistic farmable currency that you can get for that. It's totally like, I if Big Tony's watching this, I fear the day that I have to explain to you how that works and what to go do, because it's just, I don't know. That's my thing with it. It's just silly. Like, let materials be simple. Like, let them just be whatever they are. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
it can be so much easier.
There's a lot of weirdness to the materials. I think we should move on though to let's wrap up the Season of Arrivals extension. We're gonna get more Iron Banners as well. But there was another mark that said there's more question mark in a plan for this season. It's along those redacted lines. Like, what would you even want to see added to the season now that it's extended?
Well, I think they have to have some type of addition since they did bump it back however long it is.
Mhm.
They have to have something that can, take our time during those weeks.
I was going to agree with you on that. Yeah, I would almost think that whatever, maybe the first event or whatever an event that kind of ties in with arrivals, maybe they bring that forward. Maybe that's not something that they needed to finish. Maybe something that they've got.
Or maybe SRL?
Ooh.
I would do SRL.
You heard it here first.
I would do SRL every day.
Honestly, I would be so surprised if that was like Crepe. I would give you like $100 if that came in, because
Okay.
I do not see them doing. Yeah, clip it. Hold me to it. I do not see SRL coming back ever.
I don't either, but what a great surprise would it be, and how fun would it be if they did?
It would be cool.
I see Trials of the 9 coming back before I see SRL coming back. 4v4,
We have
like
Trials
S&D,
of Paris.
right? But we don't have 4v4 S&D
We
with
don't
an end.
like 4v4.
I'm saying
you're trying to take
I
us
would-
back in time. We like 3v3.
I'm not
Eliminate
saying that
so much
people
better than
like it.
3v3.
I'm not saying that people like it. I'm saying it's more likely to make it into the game just based off pure like ease
All right.
ease of putting it back in. Like, you have
The-
elimination or the countdown game type still. It's just there.
I hate Countdown. I actually really hate Countdown.
I don't play PvP, so
But that's one of those things where like my thought is the thing that we'll see brought forward is probably one of the weekly or like those special things that we kind of see. Maybe it'll be an exotic quest. Who knows what it'll be. But I have a very big feeling that they're going to take a piece of not the DLC, like not the actual Beyond Light expansion content,
But,
but
like, the
whatever
season
the name
content.
of that season is, the stuff that always comes with the season, where you don't have to buy the expansion, you just have to buy the $10 season. Something from that, I'm sure, is going to be brought forward.
Oh yeah.
Just because
That'd be dope.
like that's the perfect thing to do with that pacing, is to just put something else, out in there. Maybe what they'll do is maybe it'll be an activity that lets us get gear that goes up to the higher levels, so that we can maybe kind of pre-farm some of the new gear, even further than the 1360 max.
I
stuff
could see that being
because they did that with
exploited.
the Armor 2.0 stuff.
They did.
Yeah.
Exactly. The Solstice gear was led through this. By the way, I'm going to rant for a second on the Solstice gear. I'm sorry.
Oh god, rant cam, hold on. Okay, go.
If the Solstice gear comes out this year, which we saw what like the kind of like the pre-show was, either let me earn the auras that go on them, or let my purchase from last year when I spent 20 something dollars on orange glow for my character, let that go on that new gear. Like just put it in the thing. I gave the money for the thing. Hello, I want this thing. Give me this thing. Thank you. They're like, your gear is no longer functional or valid. Everything that you're going to get in the game is going to be far better, so you're not even going to do that. Or just make it a universal ornament, please. I need it. I love the Solstice gear. I love it. It's awesome. But just like, please, you show me the thing. I want to have the thing. It's an ugly rant, but I really can't.
Bungie, if you're listening, here's my rant camera. Don't listen to Perk. Don't do any of that. Instead, take your time on what you know is far more important to this game. Sparrow horns. Sparrow horns were amazing. I want my Gallarhorn horn. I want a little bike horn. I want not a Dukes of Hazzard, but like the Cucaracha dance horn. Make it happen. You'll make so much money. You're welcome. All right, back to the regular
You know what
cast.
goes with that? SRL.
You know what? I'm with Crepery on this one.
Both.
But if you believe,
Just both.
you will
Why not
achieve.
both? Give me both. I want both.
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Give me both. Just let my glows. Let my soul glow flow. All right. I just
Even
want to
glow.
look. I want to be a pretty titan. Just let me.
All right. Well, let's move on to Grandmaster Nightfalls. They're
GM.
opening. It's happening. July
They are
21st,
opening.
this Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m.
Yeah.
Pacific. The reward changes, just to go over some old patch notes. Increased masterwork material drops for Grandmaster Nightfall difficulty. Grandmaster completion at Platinum, Gold, and Silver levels now have a higher chance of dropping an exotic armor item. Grandmaster completion at Platinum level now guarantees 1 Ascendant Shard with a small chance of 1 additional and 4 Enhancement Prisms with a moderate chance of 1 to 2 additional. Grandmaster completion at Gold level now guarantees 2 Enhancement Prisms with a moderate chance at 2 additional. Grandmaster completion at Silver now has a small chance at 2 Enhancement Prisms. For those of you who don't know, these Silver, Gold, Platinum levels is dependent on how many champions you beat before you end the strike, because strikes you can kind of just run through to the boss and finish, but defeating these champions along the way makes sure that you are not abusing any like invisibility mechanics that the hunters have, or speed that warlocks used to have with sword skating.
We're calling out hunters.
What?
I said it like that we're calling out hunters.
I mean, come on.
Because they're the worst.
Thank
crazy.
you.
They're Nightblade, whatever it's called, Night Stalker could just get so mad.
Okay, so the big question here with these changes, last week we talked a lot about sort of the reward economy for Grandmaster Nightfalls. Do you feel like this is enough to make you want to grind Grandmaster Nightfalls if you did not know that there was a title for it?
I totally forgot there was a title, but yeah, I was planning to do them anyway. I've been getting really into gear sets recently and actually like feeling the difference with min-maxing that stuff. Like I finally got my Striker Titan set for Crucible nailed down, and it's awesome because you're getting the best part. Like for me, the best part of Striker Titan is just shoulder charging everyone, everywhere, at all times, and being that guy. But you can spec into doing that now, so that not only do I have a chance of it using my exotic helmet, the helm or the insurmountable skull fort, but I have crazy strength regen too. So even if I don't have that, my melee charge comes back quicker, and for that, it's that. So seeing that and doing a lot of stuff in the prophecy dungeon, and really, we've just been going nuts on raids. Having mods available to spec into. We even were trying the one phase strategy, the one tether strategy for the mind at the end of Garden of Salvation. Like that stuff makes a difference. I just wish the game advertised it a little bit more to kind of incentivize you, going, hey, this is how you get the best looking gear. I almost wish that when you masterworked a piece of armor, it did have its own glow, like just a general masterwork glow. I think would be something cool. And honestly, I know that they drop with higher stat rolls the exotics that you get from those, which is great. Once again, another thing that should be advertised in games, going, hey guys, here's how to get the best versions of that gear that's rare that you want to get. Like, here's how to get the best of that. And I think on top of that too is we talked about the materials and everything like that goes into it. That's the stuff that you spend on it to masterwork. Just being able to get more of that stuff is, yeah, I'm definitely into Grandmasters. Because like I said, we've never really done it too much. Like we've done a couple here and there just to do them when they came out in Shadowkeep. But at a certain point, we were just like I definitely did one at the beginning of Shadowkeep, and I was just like, all right, that's enough. Like I'm set. Like I didn't really care, but like now I'm more into it, and especially with better rewards, I'm more inclined to like want to do them and want to do them with people.
How about you,
For
Craig?
me, like I'm into Grandmaster Nightfalls, but I feel like just like we have a power creep, we also have a reward creep. So they continue to give us more and more stuff for the things that we do. And for me, like I have basically all the exotics. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get a slightly better stat roll, but like to put in that effort into that Nightfall and to get something that doesn't really matter that much to me, like I more so care about the difficulty in the chase to complete something that's hard, not necessarily the reward, like the actual drop reward that I get from it. I might be weird with that, but that's just me.
I like it. That's the classic Destiny chasing the thing because it's hard, like Slayer Age style
Yeah.
philosophy. Climbing the mountain because it's there, not because you get a cool, black spindle at the end of it.
Dude, how many raids have we all done for our other clanmates when we weren't even getting rewards? So I 100% agree with Grape on that.
Mhm.
Like, but my thought is looking at it from a transaction standpoint, right? I
Right.
do this, you give me this.
Yeah, I'll agree with that too.
That's my like framing. Like, obviously we're doing it just for the flex, but yeah, that's the way that I'm kind of like looking at it.
I think, when we talk about the reward economy, yes, it's weird that it's so easy to get armor or exotics, but also there's really no way to reliably get those in the game other than this, especially because you're also farming for rolls, right? Like the
I
only
was
other
gonna
way is
say,
trials, right?
yes, the roles were kind of a thing into it. I love that we can change the element energy, especially since we're kind of like categorized with what mods we can do on that stuff. Like I know that void is going to be grenades and snipers. I know that arc is like shotguns and swords and stuff like that. Like I know the categories for the stuff that I'm looking for. But I ultimately it comes down to how efficiently you can build your roles and stuff. Like I still don't have a build for even my Titan, my main character. I don't have a Titan build that has 100 intellect.
Right.
I don't have 100 in any stat, I don't think. And that's something that like we're talking about, like an RPG element of the game. Like those stats and different things like that. Like those are important. Like we need those.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Clan affairs. Let's wrap up the show with our favorite segment here. Our member of the week is Perk.
It's me.
No, I was asking you to.
Oh, I was like, you could usually
Come on. No.
I was gonna say, like, wait, that's not what it says here.
You-
It is Moose. Moose streamed last night. She is the rat queen of PvP streams. She was slaying with just Rat King and a sword. Will, I think you got the clip
Yep. Bringing it
of that.
up.
Let's pull that up. This was just crispy. Like, just sword and like Rat King, just doing like big stuff. I was watching while I was having dinner and I was popping off. Like she was legit like slaying out with that thing.
Moose is
and
probably
then-
one of the best PvPers in our clan, and it's really impressive
sure.
because not only is she that, but she plays on PC
Here it
with a
is, here it
controller.
She ducked under the, I think it was a Dawn Blader,
Mhm.
through third person, snuck in the corner, and then just sorted for the finish.
Yeah.
Like that was golden.
But
Yeah, she plays with a controller
How's it
too,
rolling
which is
again?
absurd. Like I don't even know. And also, I was talking to her yesterday about this. You know how there's like that perk for controller users that like helps them out with traction.
Mhm.
She hasn't
Cool.
used that until like yesterday. She like forgot that was a thing. So I'm eager to see how much more dexterity comes out of those plays.
She's also the first one of the clan that's not Perk to stream on this channel here at
Yes.
twitch.tv/caffeines. You can see in the top right of a corner we gave her the Caffeines stream overlay. This is not going to be the first of those streams. You can catch Moose every Wednesday around 7 here on this exact Twitch channel, and then you catch her own channel at twitch.tv/its_Moose. She is in chat if you want to say hello to her right now. So thank you, Moose, for helping us spin up the clan streams. Talking about that, let's recap what's happened this week. We had Moose on Wednesday, the day before. Tuesday was you, Perk. You started the whole thing up. What was that like?
Resets, aside from completely missing the triumph that we mentioned at the beginning of the show, it was great because we got to do a whole raid with Rat King. Moose, I did it honestly because like we have to keep the Rat King energy moving forward. So I almost feel like the Rat King is kind of like our unofficial exotic mascot of the clan, so to
For
speak.
sure, for sure.
At like 100%. I know there's a bunch of clanmates that are working on farming the catalyst earlier today. I was in chat with them before. But yeah, we've been doing that. It was great to kick off the stream. I had a couple of stream fails where my camera wouldn't zoom in because I'm totally a professional and I have streamed before. But yeah, no, it was just great to hang out with everyone and to just show everybody. Sometimes it's just cool to see everyone's different perspective from doing a raid or Crucible or whatever they're doing. It's been a blast to do that. So thanks to everybody that's been tuning in for these.
Hell yes. And of course, coming up on this channel on Saturday, it will be myself at WillProduces. You can see right there. We're going to be doing a thing called Slayout Saturdays. I'm going to be doing trials and comp with viewers and friends. I've got some friends, Nighty in the clan, also known as Nighty Knight, Halo commentator, and Sean Spaceman Rogers, a COD commentator. We're going to be rolling through some PvP with whoever we can grab. Those guys flexing in and out. And then our very own Hero Gorgeous, aka Peter Wong, and Flabeetle, also known as Jared. They're going to be doing Sunday Fun Days here on the channel, and that's going to be a lot of party games, interacting with the chat and you guys. So be sure to follow this channel. Check out the schedule below. You can see all of our streams weekly, which brings me to our last and final thing that we need to talk about, which is just like the season of Arrivals, we are extending our Xbox Live giveaway by another week. That's the year's worth of Xbox Live Gold. Follow this channel, follow us on Twitter, and let us know what your favorite Destiny memory is. Crepe, we're going to end the show with your favorite memory of Destiny.
Yeah, my favorite memory is denying Perk of his triumph. No,
Amazing.
for real. So my favorite memory is probably getting 1,000 voices. So I think it was the second time I ran the raid. I went in there and I picked 2. I was like, I'm gonna do eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I literally said, I spoke it out. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I did the whole thing, and I opened it, and I got it. So
Yeah,
probably the only time that I've been lucky in this game, for real.
it feels good. I think whatever like voodoo anyone ever does, like whether it was Dan blessing the chest for me, Lucas cursing Gino, like whatever it was, like when you have your own like connection to it, it just becomes yours. I think that's like the fun of it for sure.
Absolutely. Watching Gino get his anarchy after I like stopped everyone from entering that last room, and I was like, wait, Gino goes first. And then he goes in and he gets it and then turns off his mic because he was popping off.
Oh, he had to. There was unseen pop off in his room. I know that there was. He was salty when he came back, but he was unleashing the torrent of a silo full of salt that I know was brewing within him.
Yep. So that's gonna do it from us. Any last thoughts from you guys? Let's start with Perk, since you went second last time on the last question.
Sure. I don't care. Last thoughts is I hope that the Beyond Light goes really, really well as a launch, and I hope that they just add. I'd love to see a great experience for the new light players. That's pretty much all. Because I felt like with when I have friends that are coming into the game. I have another friend who's going to start it up the next couple weeks. I want new players to experience how good it felt when I started playing Destiny, and just to capture that for them, because I think you only have one chance at a first impression. So
right.
I would love to see a better first impression.
How about you, Crepe?
Final thoughts. I'm hopeful for the next expansion. I'm ready and hopeful for the WoW moments that we get throughout, the time that we've played Destiny. Those WoW moments, like getting exotic drops or completing a raid, XYZ, like those have been some great memories with the clan, and I'm excited to make more.
My final thought is we may live in the simulation, but Destiny is real life. Guys, thank you for watching. All of Garden of Salvation, our sponsor, go check them out. Get that free Vex milk when you're there, whether you like it or not, your family. We will see you next week on Thursday. Enter the giveaway.